This is a very interesting question because the actual question is, why do so many people still have the mentality of it's everybody's fault, it's not mine, or everybody's wrong, it's their fault, it's not mine. No, I was right, they're wrong. No. Why I think it's interesting, because to be honest, to be really, really honest, that question, that it says that why do many people still have, to be honest, I don't know if there's still so many people that have that kind of mentality. Maybe it is true, but I don't know about if it's a lot of people or not. But let's just say that yes, there are people who have those kind of mentalities. Now, why is that? Why are there people who have that kind of mentality? You know, when things are going wrong, they're always pointing their fingers to other people or blaming the situation. You know, when the project didn't work out, or the task they're assigned to, it didn't go as planned. Oh, it's because his fault. It's because of her fault. Because I didn't get enough support, or because they're not giving me enough time to complete the job, or there's always somebody else's fault, or a fault of situation, or because my boss is like this, or because my team is not supportive, and I have to do everything by myself, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So, regardless of what's the actual situation is, but when we talk about a mentality, it means it is something that's already repetitive. So it's a pattern. Because yes, maybe in our lives we experience those kind of situation where it is true that the time that we were given, it's not enough, maybe. But if it becomes a pattern that it's always something else or somebody else's fault, not ours, then there's something wrong. And then the question, why is that, right? Now, what we're talking about is a symptom in a form of a behavior or attitude. The attitude or the behavior is blaming somebody else or a situation, or basically blaming something else and not taking responsibility when things are going south, when things are going wrong, right? That's the attitude, that's the behavior, that's the symptom, okay? Now, why I'm saying that's the symptom? Because the behavior, the attitude is what we can see, and then we can feel how it affects other people, including maybe ourselves, if that somebody else is doing that to us, okay? But the reason of why it happened, so the symptoms are basically above the surface, but the reason why is below the surface. So to answer the why it happened, why do some people have those kind of mentalities? And again, when I say mentalities, it means it already become a pattern in their behaviors. The why can be different because everybody has their own life journey, right? It can be because of an ex-trauma in his or her life when they were a kid, or maybe because something else, maybe other things happen in their lives. It can be for so many reasons. But what I can also respond and give hopefully a useful explanation and understanding the general idea, maybe not the specific reason why, because like I said, it's different from person to person, but the general idea, when people are behaving that way, especially when it already becomes a pattern, usually because there's a fear underneath. Because when that kind of behavior becomes a pattern, starting to like always blaming something else or someone else, it means I'm always right and it's always somebody else made the mistake or something else, right? I'm always right, that kind of attitude is driven by ego. Because that is one of the several ways that ego can manifest itself, is in a form of feeling like we're the most right, like everybody else or everything else is wrong, I'm the one who's right, I'm the only one who's right. Okay, so that is one of the way that ego can manifest itself, in a form of behavior, feeling or being the most right. Okay, now, so that kind of attitude, that kind of behavior is driven by ego. And why does the ego is driving it so strongly? That's what I said that's what I mean when I said there's a fear underneath it. Because usually the ego is going that strong is because it's working as a self-defense mechanism. Because this person is trying to protect himself or trying to protect herself from something. And when you say protect, if you need protection, it means you feel there's a danger. If you don't feel like there's any dangers, if you don't feel that there's any threat, you will not need any protection, right? So when you feel like you need to protect yourself, that means deep down, this person feels like there is a possible danger, there's a possible threat. So there's fear. Now, what is the fear? What is this person afraid of that drive him and his ego or her ego to go so strongly and manifest in that kind of behavior, blaming something else or someone else all the time? Well, it can be many things. It can be afraid that if it's my fault, that means people will think I'm not smart enough. If I made a mistake, it means I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good looking enough, maybe. Or I'm not worthy enough. I'm not worthy to become to be given trust. I will not be able to get promotion. It means I'm not worthy enough to people to care about me, to listen what I say. It means if I made a mistake, it means my opinion won't matter. People will think my opinion means nothing. It can be so many things. The fear can be so many things. Okay? But basically, there's this fear underneath that. Underneath this attitude. Underneath this behavior. And until we understand, until we become aware and understand that it is okay, it's not a sign of weakness if you made a mistake. It's not a sign of weakness if you did something wrong. And actually, to show vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. There's been a lot of research about vulnerability. One of the leading researchers in vulnerability is Brené Brown. And actually, it's very interesting that vulnerability is actually one of the most important aspects of leadership. To become a great leader, it is actually important to show vulnerability. Why? Because when the people you're leading see that you're not this, when you're too idolizing a leader, like as if he or she is like the god or goddesses, cannot make any mistake, perfect, then the people that you're leading, they cannot relate to you. But if you also show some vulnerability, it makes you more relatable to the people that you lead, and it can help you to build better connection, to build trust between you and the people you lead, because you're relatable. They can see themselves in you. So it makes them want to trust you more. So that's why vulnerability is actually is a good thing if we know how to manage it. If we don't see it 100% as a bad thing. So to show vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it takes courage to show vulnerabilities. It means it takes strength, because it's a strength to be courageous. Is one of our strengths, right? When you become more courageous, that means it takes strength to be courageous. So it means showing vulnerability is actually one of our strengths. No, it's a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. But because this person sees vulnerability as a sign of weakness, so his or her ego will try everything it can to cover it. We cannot let anybody see our vulnerability. Let's cover it by saying that it's not our fault, it's somebody else's fault, or it's a situation's fault. It's the circumstances, So there's a fear. There is a fear underneath that attitude. And if by any chance you who's watching or listening to what I'm saying here feels like or realize maybe I have that kind of attitude from time to time, what I would also like to share here is that to keep or to maintain or to hold on to this kind of attitude, it's really, really hindering your growth as a person. It's really, really stopping you from having a better quality of life from any aspect, from your financial aspect, from your career aspect. If you keep this kind of mentality, it's going to be very difficult to have a good, long, and prosperous career, which will affect your finances as well. It's bad for your health, physical and mental health. It's bad for your relationships with other people as well. And so it starts with awareness that showing vulnerability is okay. In fact, here's the other thing. You know why it's going to stop us from growing as a person to keep this kind of mentality? Because by maintaining a mentality that is everybody else's fault or it's the situation's fault, not mine, I have no part, I have no role in this mistake. By maintaining that kind of mentality, you will be unable to see the room for improvement. Because I'm right, I'm always right. It's always somebody else's fault. So if I'm always right, it will stop us from see what can we improve. There's nothing to improve. I'm right. It's their fault, it's not mine. There's nothing for me to. I don't need to improve anything because it's not my fault. There's no room for improvement. You will not be able to see this perspective that there are so many things that we can actually improve. One, it has a very bad impact on many aspects of our lives, like I said earlier. And then it also stops us from growing because we don't see anything to improve, which in actuality, there are so many things that we can improve. So it's double negative, It's not helping you to improve, and it's worsening your quality of life. So I hope what I'm sharing here, I hope it makes sense. It makes you think. It makes me think as well. Because I'm not saying this as to brag or anything, because there was a time when, even though not very, very bad, but there was a time when I had this kind of mentality, even though I was, thankfully, I was mentally slapped by those who's around me, and they helped me to realize, so I didn't stay with this kind of mentality for too long. So I did change, I did improve myself. However, even I've already improved, and I know that I still need to learn so many things, and I still need to maintain this awareness that I always need to improve, that I always can make any mistakes, and it's okay to make a mistake as long as you do something about it. However, there's still a possibility somewhere along the way I might slip, and then without me realizing this, if I don't maintain my awareness, I might slip into this kind of mentality again, and I don't want that to happen. So that's why what I'm saying is that even though in this video, hopefully I can use this video as a reminder for whoever is watching and listening, but it's also a reminder for me as well. So again, I hope this is useful. I want to know your take, your insight, maybe your opinions, your experiences in this topic as well. I really appreciate it. Do like the video and share the video if it's useful, if you think it's useful. And do subscribe as well, and I'll see you in the next video. Very quickly, there's a research that reveals a universal pattern of phases that people go through in their journey of discovering and living their life purpose. And you can learn and find out in which phase am I in right now, and what's the next phase, and most importantly, how do I get there? Find your answers in Uncover Your Unique Purpose, a comprehensive and practical guide to discovering your life purpose. It's a research-based book, and as well covered with all the exercise you'll need to discover your unique purpose. Get this book now and take a real step to your most unique self-discovery journey. This book is available on Amazon worldwide.